What is the John Birch Society's interpretation of the U.S. Constitution? Have you ever wondered how the John Birch Society views the U.S. Constitution? Their interpretation is quite distinct and rooted in a strict originalist approach. They believe that the federal government should only act within the powers explicitly granted by the Constitution. Any action beyond those powers is seen as unconstitutional and illegitimate. This perspective reflects their strong commitment to limited government, states' rights, and individual liberties as intended by the Founding Fathers. One key aspect of the John Birch Society's view is strict constructionism. They insist that the Constitution's text and original meaning must be followed precisely. This means they reject broad or implied powers for the federal government. Many modern federal activities, such as expansive spending, in declared wars and surveillance, are viewed by them as violations of constitutional limits. The John Birch Society also opposes using Article 5 conventions to amend the Constitution. They fear that such conventions could lead to unwanted changes. Instead, they advocate for enforcing the Constitution as it stands. They emphasize the role of Article 6, which requires government officials to swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. They argue that officials who enforce unconstitutional laws should be held accountable and replaced by the electorate. Another important point is their belief in state sovereignty and nullification. The John Birch Society argues that states have a duty to intervene when the federal government exceeds its constitutional authority. They believe that state and local officials should refuse to enforce unconstitutional federal laws within their jurisdictions. This effectively nullifies those laws to protect constitutional governance. Interestingly, the John Birch Society has questioned the legitimacy of the Constitution's ratification process. They suggest it was not lawfully adopted according to the original Articles of Confederation procedures. However, this stance is controversial and not widely accepted by mainstream conservatives or constitutional scholars. The John Birch Society sees itself as a guardian of the Constitution. They educate citizens about its original meaning and mobilize opposition to federal overreach. They emphasize the importance of holding elected officials accountable to their constitutional oaths and resisting efforts to expand federal power. From a Republican perspective aligned with constitutional conservatism, the John Birch Society's interpretation highlights the importance of adhering to the Constitution's original framework. This is seen as essential to preserving liberty and limiting government. While some mainstream Republicans may differ on issues like foreign policy or political rhetoric, the John Birch Society's focus on constitutional limits and state authority aligns with conservative principles of limited government and individual rights. However, their more radical views, including skepticism about the Constitution's legitimacy, are often seen as outside the mainstream Republican approach. In practical terms, the John Birch Society encourages citizens and officials to vigilantly monitor government actions for constitutional compliance. They support state-level resistance to unconstitutional federal laws and oppose constitutional amendments that could expand federal power. They also urge people to hold elected officials accountable for upholding their constitutional oaths. This interpretation reflects a belief in the Constitution as a fixed, supreme law that must be defended against any form of federal encroachment beyond its original text and intent.